Hello and welcome to another episode of Please Bet on Football Games. I'm your host, Alex, here with the on-air talent, Joe. Joe, how's it going?
It's going real well for me. It's going pretty damn well for the bet backers. It's going less good for the podcast listeners, and that's annoying and funny.
It is a little sad, especially because those are the bets that I'm making. But such is life. You want to talk about how last week went?
Yeah, let's not talk about block punts though, right? So we can have gone 5-0.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Unfortunately, we can't do that.
Yep.
We did start the week pretty hot, though. We bet on the Thursday and Friday night games. Thursday night, we had Kansas City -3, and by about half a toe, we covered.
Yep. I do think that win was justified, though, because it was garbage time that let the Ravens back into the game. It would have been a backdoor cover for the Ravens to the extent that they did. That being said, I was not impressed with the Chiefs' offense when they had to get off of scheme. They basically, if they weren't hitting quick slants, they couldn't do anything. So it's worth noting that they're not the juggernaut we'd like to think of them as for the second or third straight year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but I don't know if anyone really looks like a juggernaut.
Correct.
But I'll agree. I think it was just, I don't know if it's quite garbage time because they could still win the game.
Yeah.
But Kansas City outplayed them. They were up. It kind of went how he said, too. But anywho, nice. That's a dub. Friday night, we had Philly over Green Bay -2.5 cover.
Yeah, despite Jalen Hurts giving the Packers the ball at the 10-yard line twice to start the game. I think that's a very fair cover.
I agree. On to Sunday.
Yep.
We'll keep it with the wins. We had Minnesota over the New York Giants -1.5. That was a no-doubter. Your Sam Darnold take looked lovely.
Yeah, hot seat the entire Atlanta Falcons franchise because Kirk Cousins might have been a cock merchant.
Possibly, especially right now where it looks like he can't move at all.
Yeah, no, that looked bad. We'll discuss later during the breakdowns, but this is one of the better bets we've made. This felt good.
It was clean from the start.
Yep.
So a third dub. Now, unfortunately, that did not continue on a game that we felt really good about. It felt like, this is going to be like Minnesota.
Hold on. Let me set the stage. Listeners, theoretically, if I could give you a 4-point underdog, you're catching the 4 points. You're up 17-0 at halftime. And your defense does not allow a single touchdown all game. How do you feel about that bet? I feel pretty good about that bet.
Yeah, no, that's, I think I saw a stat, maybe you even retweeted it, which is why I saw it, but it was like teams in that situation were like 2-600 and something. And after this game, they're now 3-600 and something because the Tennessee Titans, who we had as our best bet, +4 over the Chicago Bears, blew a 17-point lead
without giving up an offensive touchdown.
Right. Off of a blocked punt, a field goal,
a pick six on a throwaway.
A pick six on a throwaway. And then what was the other one?
A 2-point conversion and something else.
I was about to say, because they had 3 touchdowns and a field goal. But regardless, they fucking blew it. They possibly reinstated our no betting on the Titans, despite having an entirely new offense and coach. That was a tough one.
That was a tough one. That was a terribly bad beat. I'd go back and fucking do it again. We absolutely should have won. Brian Callahan said it best. If Will Levis takes a knee on every down in the second half, they probably win that game.
Yeah, and we're going to revisit some Will Levis conversation when we talk about their game. But we lost the best bet. That puts us at 3-1. On to our next loss. We had Houston over Indianapolis -3. We did not cover.
Talk about a bad beat. Houston won by 2. Less than 2 minutes after the Titans conceded a blocked punt for a touchdown, the Texans did the exact same. And despite being up 9 points at the end of the game, on 4th down and 3, Anthony Richardson ran over a defensive back 2 yards out from the goal line to score a touchdown to cut the lead to just 2. We lost that bet by 1 point, despite about 14 points of bullshit. That's not fair. God damn it. That's another bad beat. I think we were right. I think we made the right handicap. We just got unlucky. And if special team touchdowns are going to fuck you, they're going to fuck you. And there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, I don't feel as bad, or I guess I feel this one is more just than the Tennessee loss, but still a blocked punt for a touchdown.
Yeah.
That completely kills. One, it changes the game where then they're actually trying to score a touchdown later. And 2, it just gives them 7 garbage points. So it's a tough one. It's a bad beat. It's not a terrible beat like Tennessee was. And then for our 6th pick, we had Tampa Bay -3 over Washington. That one, similar to Minnesota, looked incredible.
I think Washington and Carolina might be vying for the opportunity to draft Carson Beck, and I think it'll be very funny when one of them passes on him for their shitty quarterback.
I feel like the Panthers would take him.
I feel like it wouldn't fix the Panthers.
Yeah, I agree. I think they need a new owner, which is really tough.
They got a real good consultant of analytics. I heard that'll help.
Didn't help this week.
No.
Regardless, that puts us on straight game bets at 4-2 on the week. Pretty good. We were 3-2 in the Super Contest.
So close to 5-0. Could not have been closer to 5-0.
Yeah, it's a little tough, but I'll take it. Unfortunately, the thing that really hurt us was we made that teaser with Cincinnati and Buffalo that they were both between like -0.5 and 2.5 points. Buffalo did it for us. Cincinnati was hot garbage against a bad New England Patriots team, so that did not hit. For the week, that puts us at -0.82 units.
Despite a 57 win percentage.
So not ideal. Losing the best bet obviously always hurts a lot. I'm not too upset about it, though. I feel like we had pretty good reads on stuff.
Well, oftentimes it's hard to explain why you should subscribe to the Patreon. The Patreon was up 2.5 units because the Patreon gets earlier lines, tells you about them on Monday morning, updates you throughout the week, and does not have to play by our podcast's rules. Our podcast only allows us 1 best bet and 1 bonus bet of a half unit. Patreon, we're allowed to play with those units a little bit more. So subscribe to the Patreon.
Subscribe to the Patreon. Patreon, despite having the exact same win percentage, was over 3 units better.
That's why you do the Patreon. Also, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you're building Alex's bankroll, which is great because
let me bet.
The more that Alex can bet, the more he cares about the bets and the more he cares about the pod. And the more he cares about the pod, the better the pod.
I don't know. It might be worse, though. It might start clashing.
That's okay. They like the confrontation. If you guys want a good pod, you should subscribe to the page just so Alex can bet more, really.
Help me.
Yeah, help Alex help you enjoy the pod. To the picks?
Let's move on to week 2. And to kick off week 2, our second Thursday night game of the year, we have the Buffalo Bills going to play the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are -2.5.
Excuse me really quick. I'm just going to type something in here on our handy dandy spreadsheet. All right. Buffalo is catching 2.5 points against a clearly inferior team. I have some trends that people talk about that I'm going to debunk immediately. I think almost all trends are utter horseshit. And if you bandy about trends, you are admitting that you don't actually watch football. The Dolphins are usually really good early in the season, and that has a lot to do with, 1, it's freaking hot in Miami, and 2, they play during the day. So if you've ever watched a Dolphins game, especially a 1 o'clock or noon start, whatever time zone you're in, obviously nobody lives west of the Mississippi River, except for Alex. It's just you out
Mountain
there.
time is great. I wake up, I walk my dog, I have a coffee, and then football's on.
Mountain time does sound ideal, but then you have to live in the mountains. Anyway, if you've watched an early game with the Dolphins, the roof is structured just so, allowing the sun to beat directly onto the visiting sideline during the game and giving the home sideline where the Dolphins play complete shade. So it's hot as shit. The other team is roasting. The Dolphins wear white instead of their dark color, meaning the other team's wearing dark in the sun, in the heat, playing football on turf. And for the last few years, the Dolphins have just had the good fortune of playing a lot of bad teams early in the season. And the Dolphins will always beat up on bad teams because scheme beats bad teams. But scheme fades when you have to have higher volume due to higher scoring games and scheme fades when you play better teams that can handle your tricks. The Bills are one of those teams. Now, the Bills have a lot of problems, but we're talking about a Dolphins team that had to rely on fumbles to score 17 points against the Jaguars. One thing that the Bills do well that matches up against the Dolphins is like, while the Bills defense is not talented personnel wise, they play a lot of softer zones, which prevents the Dolphins from running all those very well schemed deeper shots. Like you can't run wheel routes against cover 4. It's not really an option. I think that the Bills can hold the Dolphins in check a little bit. Also, Tua just looks so fucking dreadful. And that's the really big thing, is that we know Tua is terrible, whereas the market thinks that he's pretty good, if not awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I just worry how much it matters with how good everyone is, but it mattered last week.
I mean, really, you just look at this. You look at this Dolphins roster. Tyreek Hill's elite. Jalen Waddle's elite. Devon Achane's elite. Raheem Mostert is extremely useful. Don't look now, but Austin Jackson played really well last week against a legitimate pass rusher in Joshua Hines, formerly Josh Allen #2. Teron Armstead is unreal. If it wasn't for Trent Williams, he would be talked about a lot more as the best tackle of our time. Like the Dolphins have an amazing offense with, for my money, the best offensive mind in football. But it's not going to matter because, like we said, they couldn't score last week against the Jaguars because Tua is that inept. Flipping to the other side, it's basically the opposite story. I don't really like anything about the Bills' offense other than Superman is running point guard. Like when people aren't open, Josh Allen can run, and he's bigger and faster and stronger than basically everybody on your defense. Additionally, I think we've been ringing this bell for a few years, but I think it's finally time to put a fork in Jalen Ramsey. He got cooked like 6 times last week.
Hey, he's just slow. He's just slowed down.
Like, and it's been happening for the last few years, and it's like finally at the point where it's undeniable. Like you have to admit, like, oh yeah, no, he's just getting roasted. I think that we will also see some good fortune for the Bills in that Jalen Phillips doesn't look like himself yet. Like he looked in rewatching the game, oh fuck, the presidential debate decided it wanted to come on. I say no. As I was saying, Jalen Phillips looked decent last week, but he didn't look like the superstar he is. So he's going to need some time to get back up to speed, which buys Josh Allen some necessary reprieve because the right side of his offensive line didn't look very good last week against Arizona. Basically, every Bills and Dolphins game comes down to Josh Allen finds ways to put up 30 points and Tua crumbles in must-pass situations. When you don't get to rely on play action and motion and bullshit, Tua fails.
I'll be honest, I'm worried about the Bills though. Like they had a tight game against the Cardinals. And yeah, Kyler Murray is unique in that like he can't throw it to the middle of the field and isn't even necessarily that good at throwing to the outside parts of the field, but he's just a little bunny rabbit. Nobody can catch him. He's just flying around everyone's ankles.
I feel your trepidation as well, but the Bills did win by 6 despite fumbling in the red zone and giving up a kick return touchdown. Like in all reality, that's a 14 to 20 point win, and then we're never questioning them.
That's true, and this number is different.
Yeah.
How much bullshit was there in the Dolphins game? I'm trying to remember.
The Jaguars fumbled on the goal line, which led to a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had an 80-yard after the catch touchdown, which Tyreek Hill does crazy shit, but that's a little crazy even for Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins did miss a field goal, so they could have won by 6. They could have scored 23 points.
Yeah, that's not great. The Bills worry me. I'm not in love with this pick, but I do like it because I think the world is high on Josh Allen, but not as high as we are.
Yet for some reason, he just produces the most, gets the best PFF grades, has the best EPA, has the best QBR, is undeniably, if you were to describe him, you're like, oh, the strongest arm, that's Josh Allen. Oh, the best running quarterback, aside from Lamar, it's probably Josh Allen. Like, oh, he's gigantic. Oh, he like wants to win more than anybody. Like he's got everything other than recognition. So I feel like he's underrated. I feel like Tua's overrated. Games at night, so you don't get that heat advantage in Miami. I mean, fuck, how many times do we have to see it? The Bills outclass the Dolphins. They always beat them.
All right, let's put it in, especially because this is kind of a shitty week.
It's a shitty week. All right. A somewhat reticent cha-ching, but a cha-ching nonetheless. On to the next.
Let's go. And jumping into Sunday, kicking off the noon hour, we have the Indianapolis Colts going to play the Green Bay Packers. The Colts are -3.5.
I'm so tempted to bet on the Packers in this game to fade Jordan Love, but I also can't stand Malik Willis. Like, if the Packers had signed Ryan Tannehill, like they were talking about maybe doing, 100% best bet of the week, Packers. Because I think Jordan Love's bad, and I think he showed it last week. Jordan Love was really bad against the Eagles, and they still could have beaten the Eagles if a couple things went differently. Matt LaFleur is just that good. The running game is just that effective. Although it was less effective, they probably wish they kept Aaron Jones. And the Colts defense stinks. The Colts defense is really bad. CJ Stroud played poorly last week, and it didn't matter. 3.5 just isn't enough points because I'm not sure Malik Willis can literally function. Like, whereas I think Jordan Love is bad, but like an NFL quarterback, maybe a backup, but still an NFL quarterback, I'm not sure Malik Willis belongs in the SEC, much less the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to bet on either of these teams. Malik Willis kind of makes the Packers unbettable to me, and the Colts as a road favorite with a quarterback who can't accurately pass. Yeah. Like he can, I mean, that bomb he had that was a dot was one of the cooler throws I've seen.
One of the best throws of all time.
Yeah, but he can't do anything consistently.
Yeah, I mean,
so
like,
I don't want to bet on them either. I think we just skip this game.
If you watch that throwback, it is a 65 air yard throw while falling away. But if you look at his head, he's not looking at his target. He's just heaving it in a direction, and it happened to be perfect. So he had that 60-something yard touchdown, and then he had another 50-yard jump ball later in the game. If you take those away, he had about 100 yards and less than 50% completion percentage. Like way less, like 7 of 21. So Anthony Richardson's still terrible, laying 3.5 with him against a really great coach and I think the Packers defense is legit. So Vegas is begging you to bet on the Colts here against a backup quarterback, only giving you 3.5 to lay. Come on. They really want you to bet Colts, and I'm not going to take the bait. Not for now, at least, unless we really come up between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right. It gets a little better.
Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are -3.5.
Call me prisoner of the moment, but I kind of want to bet on the Jags. Have you seen Deshaun Watson's latest excuses? I know you have because I've sent them to you, but I think we need to share with the audience. Deshaun Watson played so unforgivably terribly against Dallas, not because he's been terrible at football for 5 years, and not because he was never actually very good in the first place, despite being exciting and athletic in his early 20s. Deshaun Watson was actually sad about his dad dying, the dad he never actually knew. That's why he couldn't complete a screen pass.
And like, I mean, I get it. It could still mess you up. Like maybe now there's no chance for a reconciliation.
Exactly.
But he also like insinuated that might be hurt or his shoulder's not all the way back.
As he's literally done every game since he moved to Ohio.
Exactly. What was the other one?
It doesn't matter. He's played fucking 14 games for the Browns, and he's been absolutely dreadful in every single one.
He had that one good half.
He did have that one good half where he got a B for a half, and then he squandered it in the other half by being terrible.
Yeah, no, he's bad. I mean,
he's unplayable. Like, really, honestly, Kevin Stefanski can't have a cock between his legs. We knew he didn't because of his play calling for years, but we're certain now because if he had any testicle, scrotum, even a foreskin, any remnant of a penis, he would be benching Deshaun Watson for the clearly superior quarterback, Jameis Winston. I don't know if it's Jimmy Haslam saying that Watson has to play. I don't know if it's D. Podesta doing his secret witchcraft analytics that the Cleveland media loves to conspire about so often. I don't know if Andrew Berry decided to be better for society. I don't know. But the buck stops with Kevin Stefanski, who has the ultimate power to say, Deshaun, get the fuck out of my offense. And he won't.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're tied to him.
And it's such a good fucking team.
It is. The tackles are rough right now. on the offense because shockingly, Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin are hurt.
Who could have seen this coming?
But yeah, outside of that, they're really good.
Remember how I said the Dolphins could barely score on this Jaguars team? Look at that defensive lineup on the PFF matchup we're looking at. Not a single good fucking player.
I mean, Eric Armstead's good.
Yeah, I'll give you this. And this is actually very informative to the bet. You can't fucking run on this Jaguars front.
No, they're huge.
It's 3 defensive tackles. Like Travon Walker, Eric Armstead, and Roy Robertson Harris are all defensive tackles playing various positions on the line. And then Devin Lloyd and Oluokun are both run-stopping linebackers, big run-stopping linebackers. Like the weakest point of their rush defense is Josh Hines, who is still a freaky pass rusher and like could be worse against the run. He's better than a lot of linebackers. You know, you got to give him that. So the Browns aren't going to be able to run the ball. Also, Jerome Ford just sucks.
Yeah, he's not very good.
And they certainly can't pass the ball. We are very well aware of that.
Which is insane.
So I don't know. I don't know how the Browns score. Flip it to the other side. We know Trevor Lawrence is good for like 1 or 2 drives every game where he looks like a great quarterback. And then the rest of the game, he kind of falls apart and poops himself. Outside of Myles Garrett, who is a legitimate game wrecker, obviously. Outside of Myles Garrett, the Browns front 4 doesn't actually look very threatening. It's Maurice Hurst. We've been trying to make Mo Hurst happen for 8 years. It's not going to happen. It's Dalvin Tomlinson. He's never rushing the passer. And Preston Smith. And Preston Smith looks kind of like you would expect a 30-something-year-old second-tier edge rusher to look.
Zadarius Smith. Preston Smith.
Oh, sorry.
GB.
Wrong Smith, brother. But yeah, how old is Zadarius Smith? 32. And he looks like it. Like, once upon a time, Zadarius Smith was a tier 2 edge. Now he's like a tier 3. That happens.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is... Like, they're going to stop the run all right with that line.
Yeah.
But Myles is the only one that's getting pressure.
Yeah. And then, like, the secondary of the Browns is obviously excellent. However, the Jaguars' offense is typically predicated upon getting Travis Etienne quick touches, getting receivers touches in space. Like, it's not like a pure coverage. It's more of an Andy Reid offense. You're looking for quick slants and mismatches rather than pure progression, long developing plays. So I really think the Jaguars have an edge in the matchup department. The problem is that Deshaun Watson was so fucking bad last week that this line moved out to 3.5 from 2.5, and we hate laying 3.5.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel strongly enough about the Jags to take him at 3.5, just because, like, yeah, Njoku's out, which definitely hurts. Yeah. But, like, Deshaun doesn't have to do very much. And I know he couldn't do anything, but Dallas's defense isn't bad. And we've talked about it, that D-line is very good, and they really shut him down in the run game, so then Deshaun had to pass. And I don't know if Jacksonville's going to be as good in the run game.
I think they'll be better.
Really?
This is one of the best run Ds in the league. It's all defensive tackles. They're doing the Ravens thing. And they got the defensive coordinator from Atlanta last year who just runs a ton of man and has like big defensive linemen, not really as worried about rushing the passer. And it's the same thing. It works. Yeah, like the one worry I have with the Jaguars defense is leaving corners on an island with Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, but it doesn't really matter. Like Deshaun can't get them the ball.
Yeah.
We've seen Deshaun not throw the ball well to busted coverages. So like usually with bad quarterbacks, you're like, oh, you know, it's a coverage bust and he can still hit a 50-yard Deshaun doesn't hit coverage busts. He doesn't notice them. And when he does, he struggles to hit them. I think the only way the Jaguars lose is if Deshaun Watson decides not to play because his ex-girlfriend's dog ran away or he stubs his toe.
Yeah, but I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
And you're laying 3.5.
Do we maybe pile it?
I think it's a maybe pile, just because this week is bad.
You know what's better than maybe piling it? Subscribing to the Patreon so that I could have told you at 7 a.m. on Monday that you should bet the Jaguars minus 2.5 or 3.
Unfortunately, we're not the Patreon. We're just the podcast. Patreon.
We got to make the pod picks. But I got to advertise.
Of course.
All right. Unfortunately, maybe pile on this one. We see some angles. The number is just a little scary.
Yeah.
Next game.
Moving on, we have the Los Angeles Chargers going to play the Carolina Panthers. The Chargers are minus 6.5.
I sure hate this game.
This is this is insane.
A
The
lot of
Chargers didn't look good. They had moments, but
the Chargers didn't dominate the Raiders, and the Raiders are like theoretically better than the Panthers, but not by a lot.
they're like half a step better than the Panthers. And they're getting 6.5. Yeah, I don't think that's bettable.
No, it's really not. It's the battle of people that I don't think should be employed by the NFL. Coaching and executives, that is.
Right, right. Well, let's move on.
I fucking guess so, buddy. That sucks. The next one, let's not even bookmark it. Next one's not fucking bettable either.
The Las Vegas Raiders go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. The Ravens are -9.5.
That's a drop dead leg. I mean, I just fucking know. The Ravens are going to do disgusting things to the corpse of the Raiders. Illegal in all 200 and something countries, violation of 4 codes of the Geneva Convention. Next fucking game.
Yeah, but still not laying 9.5.
No, but it is a good leg.
Absolutely.
Ooh, real talk. Not podcast talk, but real talk. The Ravens money line is a nice anchor to tie to Jaguars -2 to get that down to like a positive odds bet. Something to consider.
Yeah, it's not a bad option.
All right, next game.
Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints going to play the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are -6.5.
We don't usually love underdogs on this podcast, but I think I might like this one.
I think I do too.
So the Saints obviously looked better last week than they should have because they played FCS Southeast, aka the Panthers. But the Cowboys also looked better than they are because they played Deshaun Watson the day that the dad he never met died, and also maybe like a friend of a friend of a friend, and he broke 2 toenails this year, which he was mourning. I was encouraged. I was thoroughly encouraged by the Saints' new offense. It looks Shanahan-y. It doesn't look like Shanahan, but it looks like they're trying. Whereas in the past, it looked like they were like, no, Adam Gase was right the whole time. And he wasn't. And so it showed. Derek Carr was actually throwing down the field, which I don't know if that's because the Panthers didn't scare even Derek Carr, the world's most gigantic pussy, but it was the case one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, he was thrown into like tight coverages.
Yeah, like he might have, I don't know if it's his, but he found a penis between his legs. And he's
he looked good last week. Again, like it's the Panthers. You have the caveat.
Here's how much it is the Panthers. You know who the number 1 rated center in the NFL was last week?
Who?
Eric almost loses his job every summer McCoy because he played the Panthers. You know who one of the best starting tackles in the NFL was last week? Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning couldn't pass block a dead raccoon, and yet he locked down the Panthers on account of they're the Panthers. So take some things with a grain of salt. But I do think that the Saints match up extremely well with this Cowboys defense for a few reasons. First of them being Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave is one of the fastest wide receiver duos in the league, like top 5 fastest. And they're going to be playing against one of the slowest cornerback duos in the league in Trevon Diggs. And I guess they're starting Kalen Carson. I love that matchup for the Saints. And if Derek Carr is actually going to throw the ball down the field, now we're cooking with gas. On the other side of the ball, the Cowboys can't run. They can't run, and that's fine. And their offensive line didn't actually look very good. They're going to have to pass, and that worked against the Browns. But we love Marshawn Lattimore. We love Paulson Adebo. Tyrann Mathieu is still a consummate safety. We want the Saints defending the pass. That's what they're best at. So I think that there are a lot of matchup things generally in our favor. Here's another fun PFF thing, though. Did you know that Dak Prescott ranked 1 small ranking ahead of Deshaun Watson last week per PFF?
That's terrible.
Dak Prescott, 21st best quarterback in the NFL last week. Deshaun Watson, 22nd per PFF. In the same game where Dak Prescott, I don't know, like violently grabbed the Browns and forced them down on the bed and then wouldn't let them leave. Deshaun had deja vu for days.
Real table turner for him.
Oh, all right. We can't be making Deshaun Watson jokes. We're gonna go to prison. That was a
I
really good tag.
Thank you. I'm going to be honest. I am worried that the Cowboys could get some pressure on Derek Carr, and then he goes back to just being a deer in the headlights.
A giant pussy.
That's my fear.
That is a valid fear, and it's why I expect that the Cowboys will win this game. But we were already a little higher on the Saints than most, and we didn't expect their offensive coordinator to be anything. We wanted to wait and see, and he was actually impressive. Like, he was way better than we thought he would be, which is at least average. And we're used to the Saints having dog shit for an offense. I'm tempted. I don't want to be prisoner of the moment. This is a square bet, right? Like, everybody just saw the Saints have a blowout win. Oh my goodness. People are going to want to bet on them. However, the Cowboys also had a blowout win and are the Cowboys, and it was the Tom Brady game. It was the most watched game of the week, and they beat the Browns, who are substantial and a playoff team. So
yeah, whereas I feel like people recognize that the Panthers are a dumpster fire.
yeah,
So,
last week was more LOL Panthers than it was holy shit Saints.
yeah. And I mean, there's some of that with the Cowboys versus the Browns because it was LOL Deshaun, but I think the Cowboys get more credit for that win, and they should, but
Yeah.
I don't think it like really moves the number that much because the Cowboys had such a good week as well. I mean, at 6.5 and what this week looks like, I think we're probably going to end up taking it because I think I like it more than I do the Jags.
Yeah,
But
I think it's a good bet. We were low on the Cowboys going into this season anyway. We don't believe in their offensive line, and frankly, see, this is the problem. I don't think the Saints have a single good defensive lineman. I really don't. And like that, if that's the area I'm trying to exploit, I guess they have Chase Young. But again, if that's the area I'm trying to exploit, Chase Young on the outside, Cameron Jordan kicked inside, that's not really enough to give me a ton of confidence that the Saints can beat up on this crappy Dallas offensive line. Oh, fuck it. This is a maybe pile, but I think the Saints are probably going to be a pick.
yeah, I think they will too. I am fully prepared for the Cowboys to beat them by 30 points, but I also think it could be a legitimately good game.
It's
And
going to be
6.5.
I think it'll be a good game. And yeah, 6.5 is scary because one touchdown breaks a very close game open, right? Like we saw the Lions and the Rams, a dead even game that gets closed by 6 points. But let's continue on and see what we find. I think I like the next game too. So
I think I do too.
we're not all out of options. Let's check some other things out first.
Next up, we have the New York Giants going to play the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are -1.5.
All right. You said you think you like a side?
Yeah.
Let's go 3, 2, 1, name of team. Ready?
hmm
3, 2, 1, Giants.
Giants.
Okay, cool. There was a lag because of Zoom, but I don't think the Giants are that awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're good, but I don't think they're as bad as they looked.
I think the Commanders are that awful.
I think they're very bad.
Okay, what do we know about Daniel Jones as a quarterback? He's fucking dumb, and he doesn't have a deep ball. Well, he played Brian Flores, who blitzed his ass all day. Makes it really difficult to see things. Leverages the fact that the quarterback is dumb. Also, the way you beat Brian Flores when he's rushing a lot is you throw over his head. You can't do that when you can't throw deep. I think Daniel Jones will be a lot better. I think that we have a clear coaching advantage. Daboll's way better than whatever the fuck Dan Quinn's rolling out. Dan Quinn runs a very, shall we say, predictable defense. You know it's mostly going to be cover 3. You don't have to worry about getting very confused. On the other side, Jaden Daniels looks beyond inept. It looks like passing is something he heard about last week.
He's good running. He's very dangerous there. He
Very good running.
kept a lot of drives alive, but then he also killed those same drives by not being able to pass.
Yeah. So last week against the Buccaneers team that had no secondary due to injuries and really doesn't have a pass rush to speak of, that was selling out basically against the run, the running back run, daring Jaden Daniels to pass. He couldn't pass. Now, when they did sit back and play softer zones, Jaden Daniels can run. He can fucking run. But the Giants are a much more athletic team with a much, much better defensive line and thumping safeties. And however the hell you want to use, who's that linebacker? Arizona draft pick, Isaiah something.
Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons is the mobile quarterback eraser. He's the perfect spy. I think the Giants have answers for a running quarterback. I don't think that the Buccaneers did. The Giants' weakness is their secondary. It won't matter. Jaden Daniels can't think fast enough to even attempt a throw, much less complete one. And on the other side, it's a simple defense of terribly low caliber who won't really rush Daniel Jones very much on account of having no talent. And we've got the coaching advantage. I think this is a slam dunk.
Yeah, I like it a lot because I agree with you. I think the Giants defense is a lot more athletic and will be able to keep up with Jaden Daniels more. And yeah, he did not show me really anything in the way of passing last week. So I don't worry as much about their weak corners. And the offense, I mean, I don't think they're going to score a lot, but this is a bad defense. They still have a lot of solid pass catching options. He's just got to make the easy throw. But it's we're catching a, what, 1.5.
We have an underdog, whereas I would lay 3. I think the Commanders are legitimately on the Panthers level where they should never be laying a point. I think they should never be catching fewer than 3.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this line should be definitely the Giants should be favored. 3 is probably the right number. I want it to be 2.5 because I'd still probably take the Giants at -2.5. But at +1.5, I think we definitely do. This might be the best bet.
I think it might be.
It's early yet, but I like it.
It's very simple. The Commanders are just that terrible. And I think what people are missing is that the Vikings are legitimately good. Like Sam Darnold was pretty good. It's not that like everybody was running wide open because the Giants are inept. It's no, like Darnold was making good reads, making good throws. The Vikings have a great offensive line, awesome weapons, good running back, upgraded running back. Like the Vikings are a legitimate team. And then on defense, I think did Daniel Jones throw a pick 6 to Van Ginkel? Yes, he did. The 20.
He must have.
Yeah, Ryan Flores is genius. I don't think that Daniel Jones will be throwing any picks to Bobby Wagner playing routine cover 3 and maybe some cover 4. Like you're going from facing the most complex defense to arguably the simplest. I like the Giants.
I like it.
All right. Cha-ching. Shout out Rod. Go Big Blue.
Next up, we have the New York Jets going to play the Tennessee Titans. The Jets are -3.5.
All right. The Titans burned our ass last week, and I'm probably not going back to that well. Not just yet.
Nope.
But I do think Levis got a little bit of a bad rap. I made the video. It's on the YouTube. Go check it out. Tell me where I'm wrong. Okay, like it's one of those things where, yes, the pick 6 throwaway was the worst thing I've ever fucking seen, and it literally lost us the entire game.
The surrender cobra.
Do you think he's gonna do that a fucking again? Like, it's one of those things where that's not part of football. That's just a fluke. Oh my God, I smashed all the buttons and threw my controller at the same time, and now I lost the game. Like, that's not dropping back and playing quarterback. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, Levis is kind of dumb. That's part of his issue.
A little reckless.
But, I mean, I think you make a good point in that he's probably never going to do that again because he just lost opening week in a game they were winning.
And the crazy thing is, like, no joke, the symmetry in these two games is crushing. CJ Stroud did the exact same thing. The defender just stepped out of bounds as he caught the ball. Like, it would have also been a pick 6 on a throwaway at roughly the same time on the same day, but one defender stepped out and one got a touchdown. This game is complicated for me because the Titans underwhelmed me in terms of their offense, like the actual scheme. However, they were at a pretty fucking raucous venue. Like, living in Chicago, I live roughly 5 or 6 miles from Soldier Field. I see Lakeshore Drive, which Soldier Field is on, from my front room at 10 a.m. At 9 a.m., the traffic for Soldier Field was backed up all the way to my apartment 6 miles away. So it was packed. I know too many people that were there that said it was too fucking crazy to believe anything other than the fact that this was the loudest stadium Will Levis has played in yet. And so I could see a world, I don't believe it, but I could see a world where they have intentions of putting together a better offense. They just were having a hard time actually executing play calling because of the noise. But that's a little optimistic. The offensive line was a disaster.
Terrible.
Like, really fucking awful. PFF does not do it justice. Like, Latham, I'm pretty sure that Latham lost every pass rep against Daryl Thomas or some shit like that. A guy who got cut by the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. You know, the Seahawks who are known for their bevy of pass rushers, such as, and exactly. Nick Petit-Frere, what happened to him? He was pretty decent at Ohio State, and he's just a bitch now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
He's not
even like
good.
Lloyd Cushenberry, who we know is a good center. He's been a good center in this league for years, played like shit. So something's going on. It's almost like Bill Callahan is making them worse instead of better, which you can't expect to continue.
Radens looked good until he went down.
Yeah, yeah. There are just too many issues with this Tennessee team for me to get excited. They're going to bounce back and be a lot better this week, but you know who else will be better this week? The Jets. We talked in the offseason about how the Jets defensive line rather was extremely overrated, and it is. But they're not terrible, and they were terrible against the 49ers. I can't expect that they'll continue to be terrible. I think that they'll probably get a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think some of that's playing the 49ers, who are notoriously confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bet on this game.
Yeah, because on the other side, we've seen the Titans defense is awesome. I think it's better than the 49ers defense. And we saw that the Jets couldn't move the ball on the 49ers. And the Jets offensive line is putrid. Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons will have a lot of fun with that. So I lean Titans. You know, if I had to pick the game, I'd pick Titans, but I don't think I have to pick the game because I think I like 3 more games, maybe. We'll see. It's whatever's below the maybe pile. This is below the maybe pile. And watch what'll happen. What'll happen is the Titans come out and look exactly like we hoped they would 2 weeks ago, and they will score 30 points. And Will Levis will be MVP of the week because that's my luck.
And we'll be on the wrong side both weeks. Yeah, I mean, I just worry because their defense, like they didn't give up a point last week, and they still lost.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, bullshit, like block punt, pick 6 on a stupid fucking play. But still, like the defense played elite and they still lost the game. So I think it really does just come down to can Will Levis and the special teams not tank the game. But the Jets are a lot better than the Bears are. So I just kind of want to stay away. I'd probably agree with you, Titans, if we had to. But because they did look incredible through the first half. I mean, I was getting texts from people that were like, damn, good call. But there's 2 halves. So I don't know. I think maybe pile, but yeah, it's on the lower end of the maybe pile.
If Will Levis gets sacked instead of throwing a pick 6 and the Titans have 0 blocked punts last week, they probably win 17-7, 17-6. What's your takeaway then? Any different? Because I would still be disappointed that they only scored 17.
Yeah, because the defense is going to be very good.
Yep.
But we were banking on Bill Callahan improving that offensive line beyond what their abilities have been in other places or with other coaches. And if he is, it didn't happen in week 1. And then we like Brian Callahan, that's the head coach.
He says all the right things.
But he played a pretty conservative, uninspiring offense last week. And again, maybe it's because he knew the offensive line was in tatters, so they were just going simple, quick plays. Maybe it was the noise. Maybe it's week 1. They're still implementing, but
the thing that concerned me is that it was apparent in the second or third quarter that the Titans could not block long enough to run any passing plays that mattered. And they still never put a 6th offensive lineman on the field and said, fuck it, we'll deal with 4 receiving options. They never did it. They never kept dudes in. It was all empty protections. And that inability to adjust scares me.
Yeah. So I think maybe we were too high on the coach.
Yeah.
And maybe the Titans do rip off a 30-point win, but I think we have to see that.
I was about to say, I'm willing to pay the price of not betting one advantage wager to see if the Titans can be real before we assume they're real.
Exactly. Like, let's not lose more money on them right now.
We don't have to be early. We can be a week late on them.
Yeah, because I think even if we wait for them to have one big week, assuming it's not in week 8 and they've just been horseshit until then, we'll still probably be early on them because other people will be going like, okay, well, that's fluky.
Yep.
Whereas we'll go, okay, well, this is what we thought they were. So, yeah, I think probably leave it unless we have to. But we've spent enough time on this game, especially for one we're not going to bet.
My thoughts exactly. Next game.
Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks going to play the New England Patriots. The Seahawks are -3.5.
The Seahawks laying 3.5 is the same damn problem I have with Jacksonville laying 3.5. If these were both threes like they were when I gave them out on the page, I would be so fucking happy. And they're both excellent options to money line or minus 1.5 parlay with the Ravens. But I think I still want to take the Seahawks.
I think I do too. I like them more than I do the Jags against the Browns.
So first off, you can't run against the Seahawks front. They're another team who just loads up on defensive tackles. And this is becoming the new meta, the tight formation on defense. It was made popular by Matt Rule of all people, actually. But
it's something.
But it's something that the Ravens have also done very well with, and it's part of what makes Mike McDonald sick. The Seahawks don't really have an edge rush, but they are sick and stout up the middle. You can't really run on them. And the Patriots can't really pass. It is hilarious that PFF gave Brissett an 85 passer or quarterback rating grade last week, considering Baker Mayfield had like a 76. That's fucking nuts. Anyway, the Patriots have no wide receivers that can get open against this extremely excellent secondary. They can't run on this front. I don't know how the Patriots score 14 points, period. On the other side of the ball, the Patriots defense is good, but I think you can run on them, and the Seahawks are really good at running the ball. Also, just you only have to score like 17 points to beat them.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to score 17 points to cover.
Yeah.
I think you have to score 10 points to beat them. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just don't at all. Like they're not gonna be able to run or pass. So yeah,
what do they do?
Yeah, like the Seahawks, they're not great, but they're a decent team.
I think they're kind of a solid team.
Yeah. And the offense, like, yeah, Geno is Geno. We kind of know what he is at this point. He's going to be solid, if only because his good plays will outweigh his or kind of even out his bad. But he doesn't need to be any better than that. Yeah, it's laying 3.5 on the road, but I think the Patriots are also getting a boost because they beat the Bengals. And I don't think they should get any boost for beating the Bengals because they always start like shit. And we don't think Joe Burrow is very good.
And the Bengals would have won if not for a called back touchdown and a fumble and another fumble and just a bunch of fumbles. No, the Seahawks are a better team across the board. I don't think that the Patriots will generate a pass rush on them. I do think the Patriots have a uniquely good secondary. So I think that will frustrate Seattle's ability to just spread you out and destroy you with depth of wide receiver. But it comes down to running backs, man, and Seattle's got two of them. They got two good running backs. They've got an offensive line that can run block. Man, Charles Cross. Oh, I love that guy. He was my number one offensive tackle in that draft, and I was right.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Connor Williams, turns out everybody keeps on just letting him walk. He's been awesome for a decade now. He was an awesome left tackle at Texas, turned into an awesome guard with the Cowboys. For some unconceivable reason, gets moved to center for Miami, and he's awesome. And oh, look at that. He continues to be awesome.
I don't understand why he moves around so much.
Nobody wants a 5-star recruit Texas Longhorn who's been successful at 3 different positions in the NFL. How the fuck? He must have some bad tweets.
I was gonna say maybe he's just a really lame hang.
Yeah. I was gonna make some edgy jokes, but I've already made enough. I've hit my quota. This is as much fading the Patriots as it is betting on the Seahawks. I don't even think Geno is very good. I think the Patriots are that bad, man. And I think Brissett's gonna throw some picks.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He tried last week, man.
Yeah, and this is a pretty damn good secondary.
Very. Okay, so we got the Seahawks as a cha-ching.
Absolutely.
Seahawks minus 3.5. Cha-ching. And again, I want to make clear, I don't love most of these bets as they stand at the contest line. Certainly not the way I did last week. But we've got 1, 2, 3 more. Let's see what we can do.
Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers going to play the Minnesota Vikings. The 49ers are minus 6.5.
This is really tough because there's a part of me that wants to bet Vikings, but the 49ers are the 49ers. Why step in front of that buzzsaw?
Yeah, I don't have interest in doing that. I mean, the Vikings looked great last week, but I think that hurts our value.
Yep.
At 6.5, we'll take it on some of these other underdogs, but they're not playing the 49ers.
Yep.
And I feel like the Vikings are just going to get bullied
Yeah, the Vikings are a good team and a nice story, but they're not a Super Bowl contender, and the 49ers are.
Yeah. So I think we just pass it.
Yep, fuck that one.
Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to play the Detroit Lions. The Lions are -7.
Tell me not to do it.
All right, I'll tell you why I'm not super thrilled to do it, which is that Baker played about as close to perfect as he could last week.
3 inaccurate balls.
Yeah, like he was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I trust him to be that good again. And the Lions are definitely a better defense and a much better team because the Bucks, their offense is much better. They're not just like halfback dive all the time, but there's still a little bit crafted in that. And it was still a good amount of like, all right, Baker, save us on third down.
Yep.
And the bigger issue I have is I do not like their defense.
I hate their defense.
It is like it's big, but God, it's just slow.
Yeah, and I don't really love anybody in the entire secondary this week because what's his name? Winfield is out, and he's their best player on defense.
Yeah.
That leaves us with Jamel Dean as the new best defensive back. When Jamel Dean's on, he's incredible, but he's so often not.
Yeah.
I do think Jamel Dean will be a good matchup for Jameson Williams just because he can actually run with him and has the size. So now you've got Tyke Smith trying to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown. Fucking excuse me?
Yeah, because it looked like there were throws available to Jaden Daniels last week. He just couldn't hit them.
They were all over. He was a pussy. He didn't see him. He didn't want to see him.
And so I think now you bring in Ben Johnson, there are going to be even more open throws. And you bring in Goff, who has his warts, but he'll make the simple, easy throw most of the time.
Yep.
So I worry that they're going to get cut up. And granted, we're getting a full touchdown.
We just got to keep it close.
But I don't know. I just get worried that the Lions are going to get out to a good start, and then the Bucks are going to get one-dimensional and start pressing, and Baker won't be that level of elite again. But fuck, it is 7.
It's fucking 7, and we've got a very good offense versus a very bad secondary. Like the Rams lost their number one wide receiver, their best 3 offensive tackles, their best 2 centers, and their best guard, and they still scored 20 and still should have won that game despite 3 interceptions or interceptable balls at least. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay's got a much better offensive line, a similar offensive coordinator, better receivers, dare I say better quarterback who protects the ball better. That feels like the Twilight Zone that those are not controversial statements, but they're not. I could legitimately see the Buccaneers scoring 35. Now, yeah. I can see the fucking Lions scoring 42, but that's exactly. A cover.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just worry that the Lions might score 42 and the Bucks are going to score 21.
You know why I like this?
Hit me.
Because Todd Bowles is going to make it messy. Todd Bowles is going to blitz you in a billion different fucking ways. And yes, you have an awesome offensive line, Jared Goff. But Jared Goff, we agree, everybody knows, Jared Goff is terrible when he isn't perfectly protected. He's pretty fucking bad even when he is perfectly protected. But he's terrible when anything is messy or pressured. And you don't have to worry about that when you have the best offensive line in the league. But if you can scheme up a pressure the way that Todd Bowles does, it's enough to make a Jared Goff throw a pick. And that could be all we need to stay in the game. And we just saw this matchup with a worse Buccaneers offensive coordinator in the playoffs. And the Bucs lost by how many?
I don't remember. 3?
7.
7.
And had the ball to finish the game.
Mm-hmm. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it at all. It's a maybe pile, dude.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
The thing people are missing is just the Buccaneers have an awesome quarterback and a better offensive coordinator. Hey, remember when Dave Canales became a millionaire because he fixed Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, and it turns out that both of them are just as good, if not better, without him? Funny.
Hey, man. Coaches couldn't get jobs because they were hitched to good quarterbacks, and be a lot of coaches that never got jobs.
And a very efficient NFL. Chris Godwin's the number 1 rated wide receiver per PFF in the entire NFL. He had 0 downfield catches. He had 0 catches of more than 10 yards. That's odd. A lot of screens. Anyway, to the maybe pile goes Tampa. Where is it? Is it in Florida?
No, it's in Detroit.
Still. Yeah, I like that maybe, dude. It's scary as all fuck. You know what? I think personally, I might toss some on Buccaneers money line because it's going to be like +200 or 300.
Yeah, you're going to get a good number on it. And I think it's worth it because I could definitely see the Bucs winning. of they get some pressure on Goff and their offense keeps humming.
And you can't just stuff the ball down the Buccaneers' throat with the run game like you could the Rams. They're
Yeah.
gonna stuff the run. They're gonna dare Jared Goff to pass while being pressured. Fuck, man. I'll think about it. All right, we'll go to the next game. We'll take a deep breath, Joe. We don't need to bet on Baker Mayfield every week.
And we can come back to it shortly because we're about to
getting down
go.
there in options.
We're heading into the mid slate. Kicking off that mid slate, we have the Los Angeles Rams going to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams are +1.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts, right?
Yeah, I paused because I was like, am I reading this right?
So
How are
here's
they?
the Rams lost Puka Nacua. That sucks. He's really good. And they lost their starting right tackle to injury, their starting left tackle to suspension for one more week. They lost their starting center to being a guard, and they lost their starting guard, who that center is replacing, to a knee injury. So this is basically the backup Rams offensive line without the number one wide receiver. But Tyler Johnson looked good finally after years of not working and me not understanding why, because he was so polished at Minnesota. Tyler Johnson finally proves he can play in this league. So that's awesome. How the fuck? Okay, PFF says that Matt Stafford's the 24th best quarterback last week, worse than Dak and Deshaun.
Makes sense.
And Kyron Williams is the 19th best running back in the NFL despite averaging 2.9 yards a carry. Sometimes I want to go to Cincinnati and I want to find these guys and I want to shit on their feet.
Some of them might be into that though.
I think most of them are. I think that might be precisely the problem. Anyhow, you know why I don't give a fuck that this is the backup Rams offensive line?
Because they're playing the Cardinals.
Precisely. Last week, the backup offensive line of the Rams handled Aiden Hutchinson, top 3 pass rusher in the NFL, pretty damn well.
Top 5.
There is, dude, he might be 3. He might be coming for that ass.
No, that's Michael Parsons.
Oh my goodness. You're good with the tags. You're good with them today.
Get him coming and going.
The Arizona Cardinals don't have a single good defensive lineman. Literally not one. That's bad. Actually,
that's bad.
It's fucking sad. They don't have one defensive lineman who should start for my money. Like their best defensive lineman is Zaven Collins, who's a linebacker. Guess what his pass rush grade was week 1? 57.
Not great.
He's a linebacker. He's got a nice PFF grade because he was great in coverage as a linebacker, but he's not an edge. Yeah, I don't think that the offensive line will be a problem whatsoever. So I think that people are misunderstanding that. That's a classic case of like all these sharps, all these like gambling pundit types. They love to look at cluster injuries and problems for teams, but they don't look at how it's being exploited. Like you could literally roll out the Rams' full second string offensive line and they'd be fine against this starting defensive line of the Cardinals because they're a backup defensive line. So I think that that's not being accounted for properly. And then additionally, you still have Cooper Kupp. You still have Demarcus Robinson, who's whatever. You still have Tyler Johnson. And you have my secret weapon, Jordan Whittington, who I adore. Converted high school fullback, college running back, college wide receiver, now a power slot with ball-winning capabilities. Savvy as fuck, smart, never runs a bad route, understands how to sit in zones. He is a Sean McVay dream.
I can see the twinkle in your eye through the screen.
I feel like the guy should have been a second or third round pick and he went in the 6th. I think he can be a legitimate contributor. Not a star? Fuck no, but a contributor. On the other side, I don't like a single player on the entire defense of the Cardinals. Their highest rated player is, you guessed it, Mac Wilson Sr. The best player on the Cardinals has been cut from 2 bad defenses in the Browns like 5 years ago and the Patriots this year. Flipping to the offense, the Cardinals did nothing on offense against the Bills, whose defense was terrible. And quietly, I think that the Rams' defensive line might be better this year, despite losing the best defensive tackle of all time.
Dude, those rookies look good.
Both of the rookies look good. Both of the second-year players in Byron Young and Kobe Turner look good. And they mix well. Like they like to do stunts with Young and Turner because they're both so quick. And then they like to do power games where they slant the defensive line with Fisk and Verse because they're quick, but they're also so powerful. It's really, really good combo. And then none of the Cardinals wide receivers really scare me. So like, yeah, the Rams
Well,
always
I have
have
Marvin
bad.
Harrison Jr.,
Yeah, but
but
Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't get fucking used. And the one time he got targeted, he dropped it.
yeah, I did see it, what, one catch for 4 yards or something.
Yeah, they didn't fucking use him at all because Kyler can't throw over the middle. By the way, biggest fucking problem with the Rams defense, linebackers. Doesn't matter. Kyler can't throw at them. They just have to spy.
Yeah, they just have to be able to chase and tackle.
Yeah, so I think that the Rams are multiple tiers above the Cardinals. I think that there's sharp money, quote unquote, sharp money pouring in on the Cardinals because they see all these injuries for the Rams. And the Rams just fucking outplayed the Lions with all those injuries. Fuck that. Rams, that's my best bet.
Yeah, at +1 too. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's best bet
Plus,
just
I mean,
because I would rather trust Matt Stafford than Daniel Jones.
I was about to say this can be as short and sweet as Matt Stafford, top 5 quarterback, Kyler Murray helping Dorothy find the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, yep. That's a bet. That's almost definitely the best bet. Rams +1.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. I'm not doing the sound effects. I don't want to go find them. Next game. That was quick and very easy. That's free money.
Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are -6.
I want to take the Chiefs, but I can't.
I'm same boat.
Their offense
I
just didn't look polished enough last week. Mahomes, how many years do I have to say Mahomes doesn't look like Mahomes before I can say that he's just overrated? I guess he has to stop winning Super Bowls, but fuck, man.
I was about
He
to say
hasn't been good.
once he stops winning Super Bowls and then however many years he was good, you have to wait for him to be bad for that many years.
It's so frustrating because like all last year he was bad and people were finally starting to realize like maybe he's not everything. Like maybe he needs help. Maybe it's whatever. And then his defense goes on a fucking tear and they win every game in the playoffs by playing awesome fucking defense and running the ball and having trick plays. And all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest of all time again, despite not playing that well. Although there is hope for this world because I'm starting to hear people say, Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl and we give him a lot of credit for that, but he didn't actually do anything. I literally heard that today on Barstool Sports of all places. So the plebes are starting to learn.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of people just being like, "Damn, this guy's just like all sizzle no steak." He's just like, "Oh, look at how cool he is." But then he can't play. And I was like, "Hey, that's what Joe's been saying since he got drafted."
It's been 83 years.
But as far as the game, I mean, I don't trust the Chiefs defense enough. Yeah, they're at home. They're on a long break. The Bengals look like horse shit, and the Bengals are slow starters, but
The Chiefs never beat anybody by 6. It's just not in their nature.
yeah, not in the last few years. Like for a little bit, they were the team that beat everyone by 30, and now it's a lot of close games. I just expect the Bengals to bounce back. The Chiefs don't make me feel comfortable enough that they're going to win by 6. I think they're definitely going to win. This is probably a great leg, but I don't want to do -6.
Yeah, no. Have fun watching the game. I will be slandering Joe Burrow the entire time, but it is not worth a big bet. All right. Next game.
Moving on. And wrapping up the mid-afternoon slate, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going to play the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are +3.
How you feeling about this game?
I don't want to touch it.
Okay, that's smart. I kind of want to bet on the Steelers, but it is hard betting on a road team laying points with a terrible quarterback.
Yeah, like the Broncos are bad, and I think Bo Nix will have nightmares of this game, but the Steelers are not good. Justin Fields is still terrible. I don't like it.
I hate it. How was Bo Nix not the worst rated quarterback of the week? That is a mystery I will never understand. TJ Watt is special.
He is.
And
He
I
really
always
is.
I always forget that because I'm always talking about how Max Crosby is better and Myles Garrett is better. But it kind of takes away from like how fucking unreal TJ Watt is. And this Denver offensive line kind of sucks. And this Denver quarterback kind of sucks. And this Denver running back's not very good. And this Denver coach kind of sucks and like legitimately fucking sucks. Remember when I said that and people wouldn't answer me on why Sean Payton was good? Turns out it's because there's not an answer. Don't look now, but Najee Harris looked good last week, which is terrifying.
That's what they say about running backs. They just need a couple years of seasoning.
Yeah, definitely. The Broncos also have a very undersized, shitty defensive line. So I think the Steelers are going to run all over them. And it doesn't matter if Justin Fields can play quarterback.
Yeah.
But
You make a strong point.
I think Steelers -3 might actually be the fucking move, dude. It's a maybe pile.
It's a maybe pile. I just worry about road favorite with a shitty quarterback in what will probably be a low scoring game. And maybe the Broncos offense doesn't need to score because maybe Justin Fields will give them a touchdown or two.
Very, very plausible.
So that's where I just worry that like when you're betting on a bad team, there's a
Lame.
lot of room for fuckery.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But I think you're right. I mean, they're the better coach team. They're a much better defense. They at least have a path to scoring, whereas I don't really see that for the Broncos.
Man, there is really not a lot of fucking action this week. All right. Sunday Night Football on NBC. Let's talk about it.
With visions of Carrie Underwood, we move to Sunday night. The Chicago Bears go to play the Houston Texans. The Texans are -7.
I think they're going to fucking do it. I want to lay 7 with the Texans. The Bears are going to be playing a defense that's at least as good, if not better, than the Titans one. They're not going to be at home this time. It's going to be a raucous environment because it's the Titans or the Texans home opener on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football. I'm getting everything wrong. I don't think the Bears move the ball at all. I think Caleb Williams is going to be like really under fire next Monday on the fucking talk shows.
I don't know if you can really be under fire after 2 games. Unless he throws like 3 picks.
It's like this. I was low on Caleb Williams. I gave him the same grade coming out that I gave like a Will Levis. I had him almost tied with JJ McCarthy, and I really, really heavily considered having them tied. I thought that Caleb Williams would be a decent franchise quarterback, but like not a top 5 guy, maybe a top 10 guy, like a fringe top 10 guy. And I already think that I was wrong. I think he's worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough that your first game is playing that Titans defense and the Bears offense has improved, but it's still not good. So I'm not going to fault him too much for having a rough week 1.
Well, now he's playing at least as good of a defense.
I was about to say, but it's not going to get any better this week.
And he's going to be playing against an offense that's at the very least much, much, much more professional.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the fucking Texans are going to score 20, 24 on the Bears easy, in which case, how the fuck do the Bears keep up? I want to bet the Texans.
I don't hate it. I like it more than the Steelers, even though every game we pick is a fucking touchdown spread.
It's a maybe pile because it's a touchdown spread, but fuck me, dude. How are the Bears going to move the ball?
I don't know.
They're going to have to run. They're going to have to run the ball. It's their only hope. But then they're playing against the D'Amico Ryans defense, which is loaded now on the front 4.
I mean, you're making good points. It's just 7. And the Texans offense didn't look very good last week.
Yeah.
But we've got a ton on the maybe pile. We don't even really need to pick that many anyway. And we just have Monday night left. So let's do that. And then we can revisit all of them.
Smart.
And on to Monday night, we have the Atlanta Falcons going to play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are -6.5.
Yeah, I can't bet this one either.
Nope, don't want to.
Very simple. Jalen Hurts played like rabid dog shit last week, and I expect that to continue. I think Jalen Hurts loses his starting job this year, or at least begins to.
Yeah, no, I mean, we talked about it in the offseason where you were like, I think this year is where like they're going to really start thinking about him and he'll probably get benched like early next year or something. And I was like, I don't know, that seems early. And then I watched the game last week and I was like, fuck, he might have been too conservative.
I was watching the birds with the bird watcher, and even he was like looking at me with half a smile, saying, "Okay, I can't make excuses for that one."
Yeah. The Eagles are a much better team, but I just don't think you can bet on it with a 6.5 spread and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and like who knows? Maybe Kirk Cousins will be able to walk this time.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's going to be that much better because I don't know how much of a difference a week makes after you just hobbled around and got hit.
Yep.
But
I think they're in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
The Falcons ran 0 play action last week in a Sean McVay offense that's predicated upon play action because Kirk Cousins literally can't do play action right now.
I don't. Why is he playing? if he can't like turn?
Because they made the genius move of drafting a quarterback in the first round. So now they're like, well, Kirk's not ready, but we don't have a true backup because our backup is a rookie, but we can't put the rookie in because if he looks bad, it'll ruin him. And once we play him, we can't bench him because reasons that the entire NFL seems to believe in. So we can't play our backup. We don't have a real backup behind the backup. Therefore, we have to play our injured 30-something-year-old starter who can't play right now. It's a disaster class, but what do we expect from a team that already fired the head coach they just hired 2 or 3 years ago due to massive incompetence? They hired this man to be their interim coach. He was really, really bad. They didn't re-up him. They didn't take the interim label off. 2 years later, after a couple of mediocre at the very best, but probably not even that good years in LA, they hire him to be the head fucking ball coach. Why? Turns out he does dumb shit. They do dumb shit. Dumb shit organization. Fuck them. To the maybe pile.
To the maybe pile. All right. Well, first, our locked in bets.
Ooh.
So definitely we have the Rams over the Cardinals plus
We love
one.
LA. We love LA.
That's almost definitely our best bet.
That's our best bet.
Okay. That's our best bet. We also have the New York Giants over the Washington Commanders at -1.5.
+1.
Plus one.
+1.5 on both of those.
Oh, I forgot to put my little plus. We like that one as well. That's a good one. And then did we for sure do Buffalo?
I like Buffalo.
So are we definitely doing them, or are they going to be lumped in with the 8 maybes we have?
I think that Seattle and Buffalo are weak enough likes that I'm okay with lumping them into the maybes.
Okay, that's fine with me. All right. So then we're on to the maybes, and we have to fill 3 spots.
Yep.
Our maybes are Buffalo over Miami +2.5, Seattle over New England -3.5, Tampa Bay over Detroit +7, New Orleans over Dallas -3.5. Or no, that's the wrong number. +6.5.
New Orleans +6.5.
Jacksonville over Cleveland -3.5. There's that one. And then Houston over Chicago -7.
I like all of these enough to toss 1 unit on them, but none of them enough to toss 2 units on them. And 2 units is my standard wager. So I like these are all half bets for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like,
look,
I think I'd put Seattle towards the top.
I agree. Let's pencil Seattle into a bet.
Yeah, I think it is.
The Patriots just fucking beat the Bengals. They're going to be riding high. That's not going to last.
Yeah.
Okay, Seattle's penciled in. I kind of like Buffalo. Fuck Tua.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I do kind of want to, I think Jacksonville is towards the bottom.
Okay.
Just because I don't love the number and there's a world where the Browns play well.
Yep. I kind of like New Orleans over Dallas.
I do too. I was going to say, I think New Orleans, I think I like it more than Tampa. I don't know.
No, we should. We should. We're getting a big underdog with similar roster talent, but much less recognition and a bad reputation. I think that's the move, and I hate it.
I don't really feel great about it.
I don't like this week. I don't like this week at all.
No. I mean, if it was just purely like up to me where we didn't have to do super contest, I'd bet on 2 games this week. I'd bet on the Giants and I'd bet on the Rams. I'd probably bet on Seattle too.
I'd bet on Seattle, but I might knock it. I would knock it down with the Rams.
Yeah, you tie it with one of those the big ones we talked about earlier.
Man, yeah, I don't want Pittsburgh. I don't want to fucking attach myself to Pittsburgh, though I do think they win.
I agree.
You know what? Tampa will be the bonus bet. Tampa money line bonus bet. Fuck them.
Money line.
Yeah, fuck them.
What are those odds?
Like 230, 250. Tampa money line is 270.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck it. That's the bonus bet. That's the 0.5.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that they're gonna lose by like 3. And then we're gonna be, God damn it.
Who gives a fuck? It's a bonus bet. Also, the pod picks don't matter as much anymore because we do the page and the contest.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is icky. I think they win, but it's icky. Houston -7. I don't see how the Bears fucking move the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point. It's just that it's covering 7 where their offense didn't look very good.
Okay. I tell you what, I'm probably going to end up betting on Houston in some form or fashion during Sunday Night Football. But I think our contest picks are going to be LA, best bet, Giants, Seattle, Buffalo, and New Orleans. Yeah?
Yeah, I like it.
All right.